What if I told you that the secret to staying consistent with your training and getting better isn't actually what you think it is? If you look at inspirational videos or quotes, you'll see common themes of willpower, motivation, and an unbreakable will to get things done. But what if all of these are wrong? What if there's something far more important? I started my triathlon journey about 5.5 years ago, and I jumped straight into the deep end, doing a local 70.3 or middle distance triathlon. I used to run a bit and cycle, but I wasn't very good at either. I played footy with my mates and I did a bit of CrossFit, but I got into triathlon, started training more, and worked my way up to representing the Great Britain age group team at the European Championships. In this video, I thought I'd share my personal experiences in how to keep motivation high and make progress with triathlon, in case any of you are in a similar position and it helps you out. And if you're new here, then hey, my name's James and I'm a registered sports nutritionist. I have the pleasure of working with amateur and professional endurance athletes, and I help them to train and race better, improve their recovery, and do all of this while staying healthy and happy. I'm also now a keen triathlete, but when I first started it, I was an absolute beginner. I picked up a copy of Don Fink's Be Iron Fit, and I started dabbling in it. I taught myself to swim, starting about 4 months before my 70.3 race, and I managed to struggle through it. Since then, I've improved a heck of a lot. I've broken PBs and achieved times I didn't even think were possible, but I'm very much still an amateur and I get smashed by the really quick people at any race. But I really enjoy my training, and most of the time, to be honest, it doesn't really feel like training, and I think that's key. I want to focus in on this word motivation. What is motivation and why is it important? The definition of motivation is a reason or reasons for acting or behaving in a particular way. So to put that into context for training, whether that's triathlon, running, gym work, or anything else, it's why. Now, I think if we just say that you need to stay motivated, it misses the nuances. What is it that is actually going to make you stay motivated? So maybe what we're actually looking for is discipline, because that's another part of staying consistent. If you're disciplined, you'll do everything as planned. But if that's the case, why is it sometimes so difficult to stick to something? Surely all we have to do is set the goals, set the workouts, and with a disciplined mind, we'll consistently complete what we intend to do. Well, in my opinion, all of this misses the point. What is actually going to give you motivation? What's going to allow you to create that discipline and allow you to consistently train over time? I think it's enjoyment, and that's where you need to start. Humans have an inbuilt sense of fun. We want to play games, we want to have fun, and we want to be interested and curious. I think that if everyone started with enjoyment, then that would allow them to create the motivation to complete their workouts, which will keep discipline high. Now, I know that it is not necessarily that simple, and it could be that it's one of those things which is easier said than done, and you might not actually be starting from a place of fun. So I'm going to share my tips on how to help you get there. So if you're a nerd like me, you might recognize the quote, "Journey before destination." And it's part of a series of books which I absolutely love called The Stormlight Archives by Brandon Sanderson. It sums up my approach to training and actually my approach to life, and it's what's allowed me to train consistently over time. So when I think about motivation and what motivates me, I think about self-improvement, staying healthy, and doing it for the fun of it. Now, one huge mindset shift which helped me to enjoy my training is the realization that I am never going to be a professional triathlete. Yes, I'm decent and I can get far better, and I would love to see how far I can take it, but I know I am never going to be that good. That change of thinking helped me immensely because it means that I can enjoy training for what it actually is. So I can enjoy a long ride on my bike at the weekend, stop at a cafe and feel awesome because I've done some training while enjoying the outdoors. And this doesn't mean that you can't push it or try to improve, but it does help with those times where you might not be able to fit training in, or work or life is just getting in the way. And then you can keep the fun and the enjoyment as the centerpiece. And if you start losing that, then you can address it. Remember that it's about the journey and not the destination. And it means that you can enjoy the moment, which will help you with longevity in whatever it is that you're trying to improve at. One of the things that I personally think is a huge factor to staying consistent with your training is feeling fulfilled and challenged. Now, yes, I'm talking about training here, but actually this is so applicable to so many different areas of life. For example, how many of you feel more satisfied when you're being slightly challenged and working towards something in your job? I have New Year's challenges and not resolutions. They're fun targets that I want to try and hit, but I'm not going to be sad or disappointed if I don't, and I don't see it in such black and white terms. If you want to feel fulfilled with your training, then it might just be enough to do the training and enjoy it. But for some people, that just doesn't work for you. And if that's you, I'm going to talk about tracking in a little bit. I think it's useful to have some short-term challenges and long-term challenges. So perhaps something that you can complete on a monthly basis, and then something which you're working towards by the end of the year. This helps with that fun, trying to improve mindset, and means you get little achievements or accomplishments along the way which make you feel awesome, and then you know that you're also building to something bigger. You could set the monthly ones to be far more doable, because then you'll really get the benefit of when you complete them. And the one at the end of the year, or something that you're working towards, might be your stretch goal, which is a bit harder and tougher. Again, just see it as fun rather than something that you have to hit. Now, another thing that I find incredibly helpful is having a routine. I think this aids or perhaps even takes away the need for motivation at times. It would be naive to say that everything is always going to be fun. And when your alarm goes off at 5 a.m. and you're trying to psych yourself to go out of the door when it's raining and it's dark and it's cold, it's just not realistic. But if you've got it planned in and scheduled, you are far more likely to do it. Habit and routine are one of the most powerful things. So if you can set up a regular weekly routine for your training, then you're much more likely to stick to it over time. There's a saying in business that's applicable to so many walks of life, which is, what gets measured gets improved. If you're someone who wants to track your training, there are so many ways that you can do this now. There are apps like Garmin, Training Peaks, or Strava that are all great in their own way, but most of them will give you some sort of element of progress or show you how you are improving at whatever sport it is that you do. I mentioned earlier about having those smaller goals and maybe completing them every month. And most of these apps will have some sort of metric that does something similar. And it's like you've got a progress bar. And every time you're ticking off one of those achievements, it's like your progress bar is going up and you're leveling up. But what I will say in this section is, from personal experience and from working with athletes, is that one of the things that I would avoid is going too hard too frequently. Especially with something like triathlon, there's a real risk that you want to train hard frequently in all of the disciplines because you want to make sure that you're working on all of them and improving. And actually, I think that's a recipe for disaster. I think that most of a triathlete's training should be easy with a sprinkle of hard stuff. And personally, I have found that so useful for staying consistent over time and reducing the risk of illness and injury. Now, a couple of years ago, I got quite a nasty Achilles injury, and it really frustrated me because I felt like I was in a flow with my training, and I wanted to keep going, but I had to stop. So I did some more cycling, and when I started running, I really gradually eased back in, and I went for run walks where I would literally do a total of 1 kilometer overall. But I kept building and worked my way back, and I then ran a personal best in the half marathon of 1:24. Now, it doesn't have to be as significant as that, but we all have to deal with setbacks over time, and how you deal with it is super important. A useful quote is to remember that everything is a phase. So whether you've got an injury, whether you've got a cold, Sometimes the best thing that you can do is rest or work on something else, whether that's just recovering and getting healthier again, or picking a different discipline that you can do. You can still use your time and effort in a good way. And remember that you're not a pro, so it doesn't matter. You can rest. Now, there are some incredible figures in triathlon for various different reasons, and you might find it helpful to tap into their videos or social media for sources of inspiration, whether it's some insight into their training or their mindset, or perhaps it's to do with charity work that they do. There can be some compelling reasons to join communities and get involved. Something which I found incredibly beneficial was to join a local triathlon club. I met so many incredible people there, and it's inspired me to become a coach and to be able to give back to the community that I love. So you could do the same or join an online training group. Whatever it is, sharing things with others is a wonderful source of joy. And that's why I started this YouTube channel, so that I can help others with the experience and knowledge that I've gained. And it is super fun to see comments saying how I've helped someone out. So really, when I look back at my journey into triathlon, my one biggest tip to staying consistent and motivated over time is to have fun and enjoy your training. Now, if you're like me and like to plan a race, then I've got you covered as well. And I've put a couple of triathlon race nutrition videos up for you to watch.